What's going on, guys? This podcast is brought to you by David Protein Bars. I'm going to show you guys, if you guys have not checked them out yet, they're kind of the newest thing on the market. Everybody's raving about them. This is David Protein Bars. I partnered with them because they actually knew I was eating their protein bars and they gave me a call and we started to kind of work together and it's been really nice. They are actually great people over there that run the company and they really care. And it's evident because they got a protein bar here with 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, 0 grams of sugar, which is really nice because somebody like me who likes to snack actually now has a way to snack without feeling like I am going overboard. So when I have a meal, if I still want to snack, I got these protein bars to add 30 grams of protein or approximately 30 grams of protein to my day. Or if I'm out and about and I want something, I can throw a protein bar in and I don't feel like I'm eating a ton of sugar or anything like that. So, guys, right now they got a special. If you buy 4 boxes, you get the fifth one free, and they do ship to Canada. Use code RBP at checkout. You will not regret it. They taste awesome, and it's just a shot of protein. It's actually perfect. Guys, you're going to love it. davidprotein.com. Check them out.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Real Bodybuilding Podcast, and this is a solo version. I haven't done one in a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and I've just been getting a ton of DMs about my surgery and how it went and everything. So I thought I would knock out a solo Q&A and kind of answer all of that. It'd take a second to answer that for everybody who was concerned about it. First and foremost, I want to say thank you, because I just appreciate you guys caring enough to ask how surgery went. I know everybody's got their own lives and their own busy things going on that they're worried about. So, the fact that you guys took a second out to DM me to see how I was doing meant a lot to me. But I'm going to give you guys kind of the lowdown on what it is. And it might sound confusing, maybe not, I don't know. Basically, I'm going to give you the short version of kind of where I'm at right now in recovery. I guess I'll start with the mental side of things. So before the surgery happened, I was kind of cruising along, or felt like I was cruising along. I was like, okay, I got one arm. This is life. It's going to be this way for a while, maybe forever. I don't know. And I'm just going to attack it the way I know how. So I was training every day, doing cardio. I was eating clean. Everything was awesome. And I really was like kind of getting used to just having one arm and that being life. And then surgery time came along, and when the surgery came up, I didn't think much of it. I'm like, they're going to try and do whatever they can do, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. But somehow, like deep in your psyche, you want your arm back. So even though you're not getting your hopes up, you're like kind of banking on this guy doing what he can do to fucking get your arm back, and hoping that you're going to wake up in a month or two down the road, or even when you wake up, something's going to happen and you're going to be like, wow, look, it's a fucking miracle. I didn't know I was feeling that way before the surgery until after the surgery, which I'll get into in a minute. So anyway, I went there I tried to go there like even keel, not hopes up, not hopes down, just like, let's see what happens. And this was under the guise of him telling me that I would get most of my functionality back and probably 25% of my strength based on what he'd seen in the MRI, based on kind of motion I had in my hand and my forearm. He's like, I can probably get most of your function back, but not a lot of your strength. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not a bodybuilder anymore. I don't need to be super strong. I just want to be able to like do everyday things. So I was happy with that. I still didn't like consider it done. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. We'll see what happens. They do the surgery. I wake up. Crazy thing happened. I'm on a ton of drugs. So I barely remember this. But I remember, like, when you're drunk and you remember like one faint moment. I remember one faint moment when I first woke up and I was on a ton of drugs, and I looked at my arm, and the doctor was there. I looked at my arm and I looked up at him and I said, my arm didn't move. And he's like, what do you mean? And I go, I tried to move my arm didn't move. Basically implying that I thought like all of a sudden, like the surgery was going to make my arm function again. Like I obviously somewhere deep, like I said, in my psyche, had my hopes up. So he's like, yeah, I know it didn't move. So anyway, we moved on. I passed back out. I woke up like, a couple hours later or whatever. And I felt like it's kind of back to square one. I was like, it was basically just a really big reminder that I got one arm. And mentally, it set me way back to the beginning. And the last few days have been very hard. It's been a week now. It's been a very hard week mentally to get myself back to where I was before the surgery. And basically what he said the next day when I woke up in the hospital, he came back to my bedside and he's like, look, this is the situation. He's like, when I open up your neck, I realized there's a lot of scar tissue. There's a lot of damage. Some of the nerves are still kind of hanging on by a thread, I guess, in my spine, and they can regrow and get stronger, but he can't really fix them because they're not completely gone. He did say he fixed a portion of I should get some bicep movement, but I don't know how great bicep movement is without shoulder movement. Cause if you can do this, but you can't do this, then you can't even feed yourself. So I don't know. We'll see. It didn't sound promising. It's still going to be months before I even get the bicep flexion. For now, I'm trying to get myself back to where I was before the surgery. I'm just a one arm fucking bandit. That's it. Everything I do, I'm going to get back to training one arm. I'm going to get back. As soon as this all heals and I can train again, I'm going to get back to training with one arm. I'm going to get back to doing cardio. I'm going to get back to doing everything I know how to do to have a completely healthy, optimally building and recovering physique. And then we'll see. So that's where I'm at. Long story. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to take this long to kind of fill you in. But that's where things are at. And I don't know. He said basically we're going to take another look 3 months from now and see how these nerves have progressed or not, and then decide if we need another surgery from there. And it's just going to be a long, long recovery. I don't think this is a situation where my arm is going to come back all at once. If it does come back, it'll be in pieces, and it's going to be a long, drawn out thing. And one of the things he said about just to put a button on it, one of the things he said was they don't give up on the nerves until the 2-year mark. So they're going to go through 24 months of this before they say, okay, we're giving up. But now what I want to show you guys something really interesting I found and I don't know if I'm going to be a candidate for this, and I'm not plugging them because I'm not sponsored by them. I just want to show you guys one, actually this is to put a button on and then we'll move on. I found this fucking really cool company called Myomo. This is the company, and you can see here this old guy. I hope I don't look like this old guy right now. But anyways, this is the brace he's wearing, and you grab a hold of it, and this little thing here is a computer. And basically, if there's any signal at all in your skin, from your brain, say your brain sends a signal to your bicep to curl your arm. If there's any signal at all in the skin, this brace will read it and actually lift your arm for you. So it kind of acts like a robotic arm, which is pretty fucking awesome. I don't know if I'm a candidate yet. I'm actually in the process of trying to work it out with them and see. I might have to move to the US for a number of months to be eligible, which I have no problem doing. I also don't know what it costs. I don't know anything. So I'm in the really early stages of trying to make that happen, because I think that is the best way. Because if I use that arm, two things happen. One, I get some function out of my arm, which is cool. But two things is when you are actually using the arm, even though it's not doing it on its own, the nerves get retrained to function the way they're supposed to function, which is actually half the battle of recovery. So people actually get better function naturally after using the brace for an extended amount of time. So this to me is the most promising step forward right now, and it's kind of the where I'm putting all my efforts. So anybody from Myomo, if you're watching this, or if you guys want to tag them and bother them because I need their help, please help me. And I will do everything possible in my power to follow all the instructions and be an eligible candidate. But anyways, okay, moving on from that. I got a bunch of questions on my Instagram. So I'm going to go through now and try and answer as many of them as possible. I think there's like 50 or something like that. So I'll see how many I can get in here in the next, half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Okay, let's see. Question number 1. Why am I not loading here? What the fuck's going on? Maybe I got to go on my phone. Okay, Jacob Robichaud, one of our athletes. Hello, Jacob. Looking back, is there anything you'd approach differently with Hostile or your bodybuilding career? Maybe something you've learned along the way that you would have done earlier? This is a very, very common question. I think binge eating is probably the number one thing I would change. And I think it's because it wreaks havoc on your body in every single way possible. I think I actually, and this is just my own bro science mind, but I actually think I did more damage to my physique eating poorly than I did using steroids. And I know that's going to be a controversial statement. And the only reason I'm saying it, just so you guys know why I'm saying it, which is very, very anecdotal. But the only reason I'm saying it is I have a number of friends who don't eat poorly and eat pretty good consistently, and their blood work looks pretty good. And the friends I have that eat like shit have more problems. They don't all have bad problems, but you can see the difference in their blood work. So it's almost like, and I know that's a genetic thing, like some people's body just process steroids better and get the drug in and out, and so that you're not affected with side effects. But just my personal belief, had I eaten cleaner throughout my entire career, I would have suffered a lot less in the health department. So that would have been step one. And I think it would have been better for my bodybuilding career. I think it would have been better for my growth. I think it would have been better for recovery. I don't think just junk calories. I don't think a calorie is a calorie. I know people say that. A calorie is not a calorie. I don't think 5,000 calories of shit is equal to 5,000 calories of clean food when you're trying to build a physique that can stand with the best in the world. So that would be the number one pick. Let's see. Least favorite bro chat guest over the years. Fuck. That's tough because bro chat guests means like those are my friends. Let's see. Well, my least favorite RBP guest. I'm not going to name the name, but there have been one or two guests over the course of the 5 or 6 years I've been doing this that basically just give one-word answers. So I wouldn't say it's least favorite as far as them as a person, but it's least favorite to do a podcast with, because when you just get a one-word answer, it's more like an interview and not a podcast. Like if you're not talking and we're not having a conversation, then it's just an interview. And I don't want to do interviews. Those are fucking boring. So that's probably the first answer. The second answer, as far as bro chat guest, I don't really know how to answer that. All the bro chat people are my friends. Real Bodybuilding Podcast is different from bro chat. Don't forget. But all the bro chat people are my friends, so I don't really have a least favorite. Ben's my least favorite. That's my answer. He's bodybuilding bollocks anyway, but Ben's my least favorite. Not because I don't love Ben. I love you, Ben. But because he always wants to fucking argue with me. And he does it the thing is, he doesn't even want to argue. He just wants to argue to piss me off. That's why it's even more bothersome. So fuck you, Ben. Your favorite up-and-comer for 2026? Juan Perdelis. I called it at the beginning of the year. I saw the growth happening last year. And when we were picking our fantasy league this year, if you want to get involved, it's realbodybuildingpodcast.com. When we picked our fantasy league teams this year, I picked Juan because I'm like, this kid's going to be fucking crazy. And then he didn't compete earlier on in the year. I was like, fuck. I'm like, is he skipping the whole year? And now we're seeing it. And I think he's a little bit of condition away from being a I don't want to say top contender, like he's going to win the Olympia, but I think he could with his bone structure. But he's not far from being a top 10 Olympian with a little bit more in the hamstring department and a little bit more condition. He's there. What do you think about natural bodybuilding? Waste of time, or does it have its place? Love and respect. I think it has its place. I think if you love bodybuilding but you don't want to take steroids, that's it for you. I mean, and that's great. I think it's the same shit. If you're natural bodybuilding, you're still eating as much as you can, training as hard as you can, trying to build as much muscle as you can. It's just a slower process with you can't really push the body past its physiological limit because you're natural. So when you add exogenous testosterone or exogenous drugs, now you're pushing past the body's genetic limit. And some people want to do that, like I did. But some people don't. So if you're just one of those people that wants to see how far you can take your body naturally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, to be honest with you, I think I would have had a lot less in the injury department had I done some natural bodybuilding for a few years before starting steroids. Because for me, bodybuilding started all together. Like the day I started bodybuilding at 20 years old, that day I started using supplements. That day I started using testosterone. That day I started eating 6 meals a day. Like I just, everything started all at the same time. Because I'm a 0 to 100 person. So I was like, fuck it, flip the switch. Let's do this thing. And then when I quit bodybuilding, I was like, I don't want to take steroids anymore. I don't want to eat 6 meals anymore. I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to do that. So it was kind of like back to zero. But now I'm finding a happy medium, but whatever. The point is, I think it's a good thing to do. I think had I done it for 3 or 4 years before starting steroids, I think I probably could have built a stronger base. And again, that's a bro chat assessment, not bro chat, sorry, a bro science assessment from my years of experience of all my injuries and seeing people that don't have those injuries. A lot of those people that made it through without having a lot of injuries, a lot of those people did take 3, 4, 5 years and train naturally before starting using steroids. So I think there is something to that, but obviously I don't have any scientific evidence to back it up. But even if without wanting to lead to steroids, just natural bodybuilding on its own, I think is great if that's what you want to do. Best fast food desserts: Domino's chocolate chip, like pizza cookie. I forget. The only reason I'm calling it that is because they make this like, oh, it's a cookie brownie. That's what it is. It's Domino's chocolate chip cookie brownie. It's like this size of a fucking small pizza cookie brownie thing. It's fucking amazing. If you could have one retired pro come out of retirement to make a return at the Detroit Pro, who would it be? Rami. I'd love to see Rami compete at the Detroit Pro. Rami is one of my favorite people in the bodybuilding industry, just as a person. And I think I feel so bad for Rami just because I think he got so much shit in his career for not being shredded, but he was still like one of the, like, people gloss over Rami, but he's one of the marvels of like the bodybuilding world. You got to remember, this guy in his prime was like 300 something fucking pounds on stage with a small waist and good aesthetics. Like for a guy that big, like just a freak of freaks. And we kind of gloss over him all the time because all we think about now is Rami with missing lats and missing triceps. And then we forget about, no, his quads are too big and he's not shredded enough. Like people are really nitpicky, but when you think of like how wild it is that we had like that physique on stage, maybe he was a few pounds off here and there, but who gives a fuck? Like that's a crazy physique. And then to match it with the person that is just like an awesome person. I'd love to see him in Detroit. That'd be fucking, imagine he made his comeback in Detroit. Holy shit. That would be like a dream come true for me. What's a great starter bike you recommend for someone who wants to start riding? My girlfriend has an R7. I think a sport bike in sport bike world, I think anything 600 and under is fine. I think like a GSXR 600 or a R7 is probably in that same category. I think if you're in the cruiser world, I think like I got started on a Honda Rebel 500. It's like, you know, pretty underpowered, but very, very easy to use. Easy to slip the clutch, easy to, you know, he still gets you on the highway and keeping up with traffic. So it's okay that way. Yeah, I think people might say a 600 is too much for a starter bike. I don't know, man. I think personally, you really only have to be scared of your own wrist. Like whether you're on a 500 or 1,000 cc bike, you're only going to go as fast as you want it to go. And yes, I would not advise somebody to start on a 1,000 cc bike, but you're only going to go as fast as you want the bike to go. When I switched from riding a cruiser to a sport bike, I was terrified. I'm like, because I had been warned for years, for at least 2 years now, because I've been riding cruisers for 2 or 3 years. And I've been warned for all 2 or 3 of those years about how much faster sport bikes are. And I didn't buy a sport bike. I bought a sport cruiser, which is not really fair. It's really a sport bike. It's 200 horsepower. But when I got on it, I was fucking terrified. But then I realized this thing is only going to go as fast as I want it to go. So if you're a mature person, you can probably buy any bike and just get used to it yourself. If you're a younger person starting out, the power can be very tempting. So probably starting on a 500 or 600 cc bike is the best option. How is the rehab for recent surgery? Rehab hasn't started yet. I'm still recovering. I'm not really allowed to do much while the incisions are still healing. So I'm not really doing much for rehab. How do you overcome the loss of a close loved one? Mine was my grandma. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your loss first. Second is going to sound really, really stupid, but the gym is mine. And I say that because when you train, you release dopamine. It can put you in a better mood. You can kind of get some of your aggression or anger or sadness out while you're training. Some people, you know, when I talk to Ian about training, he talks about it very analytically, which is fine. I always train very emotionally. So like if I was in a good mood, I would train happy. If I was in an angry mood, I would take out my anger at the gym. If I was in a sad mood, I would take out my depression at the gym. Like whatever mood I was in though, when I finished, I felt good. I felt accomplished. I felt like I was in a better place. And that same thing happened when my mom passed. The same thing happened when my dad passed. It would just put me back in a better place. Okay, this is life. This is how it goes. Like you have good people in your life and then, you know, their time runs out and they have to move on. And sometimes you have friends like John and Luke and Cedric that their time gets cut short before it's time for them to go, but that's life. And I don't know, somehow working out puts things in perspective. It's just a therapy for me. It's a therapy for most of us. And I think when you start your training session, you feel very differently about things than when you finish your training session. So there's a physiological response that happens, and there's also an emotional response that happens that kind of puts you in a better place. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is I believe with any depression, keeping a sense of normalcy is always the best way to get out of your depression, even if you're faking it. Okay. So look at me. Take my arm, for example. I have no arm. I'm like, fuck, my arm's paralyzed. I can't do shit with it. I've lost an arm. Every time you guys see me in the gym, I'm not happy. Every time you guys see me doing rehab, I'm not happy. Every time you guys see me at work or whatever the fuck I'm doing, I'm not happy. Maybe I'm dying inside that I've lost my arm. But it's important to keep a sense of normalcy so that you're not just laying in bed. Because one of the things with depression is once you get to a certain place, it's very easy to spiral and spiral and spiral and spiral until you have a hard time getting out of. You've dug your hole so deep, you have trouble getting out of it. And you're just going to lay in bed all fucking day. And then maybe you're going to fall asleep at night. Maybe in the morning, you're going to wake up and that hole is a little bit more shallow. You kind of like slept it off. Well, if you just sit there and lay in bed and don't do what you're supposed to do every day and just keep thinking about your depression, that hole will dig itself that deep again. So I think it's important to wake up, and even though you're depressed about your grandma, to think about the things she would want you to feel. Like when it comes to my mom or dad, for example, when my mom passed, my mom would not want me to sit in bed and cry and weep for her. My mom would want me to think about her, but be happy and move on with my life and do the things that make me happy. And that's the way I had to think about it, because I know that's what she would want. That's not saying that so I can go be happy and not care. It's just knowing that my mom loved me that much that she wouldn't want to see me sad. So even though I was sad, I would get up and go to work and go to the gym and go to fucking do the podcast and do all these things and just keep life moving forward. So that's my advice. Twofold, right? The gym is one, moving forward is the other. And I think that's that's one way to try and help yourself through tougher times. Just how are you? Well, that's a loaded question. Oh my God. I could spend an hour just answering that question. Holy shit. I'm good. I'm going through something very difficult in my life. I have a number of people, luckily, around me that love me very much. More so than I ever imagined I had. And that gives me a lot of solace. And I'm good, man. I have everything I want in life. I just gonna keep my head down. You know, my dad used to say something. All you have to do is get up and fight. That was it. And my brother reminded me of that recently. But my dad used to say, all you have to do is get up and fight. Get up and go to work. Get up and go to work. That's all you have to do. Get up and fight. And that's it. That's all anybody can ask of anybody. And so that's how I am. I get up and I fight. What can I do? What can I do today to be better? What can I do to make my company better? What can I do to make my physique better? What can I do to make my relationship better with my wife? What can I do to have better relationships with my friends? Fight every day. Just wake up and do what you got to do. So that's how I am. LOL. Do you remember your first kiss? With who? Where it took place? How it felt? Oh my God, my wife's gonna kill me. Her name was Allison Platt. It was grade. No, wait, there's one before that. I don't remember her name. That was really weird. It was at my sister's wedding, almost wedding that didn't have. It's a whole fucking other story. My sister had a wedding party. I don't know the girl's name, but we met in the bathroom and we kissed. All I know is she was Arabic. That's it. How it felt? Crazy. It felt awesome. I kissed the girl. I was like, holy shit. And it took place in a men's men's bathroom. Oh my God. My second kiss was Allison Platt, grade 7. Oh, that was a disaster. That was like one of those kissing sessions where you just slobber all over each other. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. That's a long time ago. What's your biggest accomplishment in life? I don't know, man. That's it. I answered this before. I think it's the podcast. There's so many things I've done that I'm happy about, but I have to say the podcast only because I used to coach and I coached, 10, 20, 30, 40 people at a time. I did that for probably 10 years. There is nothing I can do that's stronger than the podcast as far as coaching because, I have people on like Patrick Tour. I have people on like Stefan. I have people on like, just name it. Chad Nichols, Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, Ian Valier. Like you just run down the list, top to bottom through the IFBB. And they've been on the podcast. And that's to me a way that I've been coaching or educating the masses. If like at one point, 100,000 people a week were watching the podcast. Now it's probably more like 60, 70. But that's a lot of people, man. Imagine reaching 70,000 people a week that are going to listen to some of your bullshit. They're going to get some laughs, but you're going to throw in some stuff in there that's really important, like get your blood work done, make sure you do your barbell rows, squats are the king of exercises, all those kind of things, the stuff I love. So yeah, podcast is number one because I think it's helped the most people I could possibly reach. Can you make a career highlight memories video, like chronological style with photos and videos from early career to retirement? That's not bad. Maybe I'll work on it with my my editor. I don't really want to talk about all my bodybuilding shows and shit, but maybe, I don't know. I'll talk to my editor about it. Would you ever have Laura Chapp on the podcast? Sure, I guess. I don't know. It's not really a bikini podcast. I don't really know what I would ask her. It might be kind of awkward. But I don't know. Why not? Would you give an all expenses trip to a fan away to the Detroit Pro? Yes, I would. Maybe we'll do that. You know what? Maybe when we open ticket sales, we're going to raffle away an all expenses trip to the Detroit Pro for probably like two or three people. How do you prepare for the podcast, and how do you stay focused during podcasts? Well, I have a ritual of always drinking a cup of coffee with every single podcast. Honestly, I don't think in 6 years I've ever done a podcast without coffee. It's I have to. Number one thing. Second thing is I don't prepare. That's why I came up with the next podcast called Unscripted. I don't prepare. I know it sounds crazy. I know people think I should prepare, and maybe I will start with the unscripted one because it's not bodybuilding related. For bodybuilding topics, I don't have to prepare because I want the conversation to go anywhere. It's not an interview. I don't want to be like, what do you eat for breakfast? Okay, now let's talk about how much cardio you did. Okay, now let's talk about how many squats you did. Like, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is, hey man, what happened today? What'd you do today? Oh, you took your daughter to school? Cool. Was it cool dropping her off? Like, I want to talk about everyday shit with people that come on. Sometimes I want to talk about the X's and O's, but a lot of times I just want to have a conversation. So I don't want to prepare because then it's scripted, and I don't want it to be scripted. I want whoever comes on, for it to just be a get to know you kind of conversation. Because I feel like if I'm getting to know them, the audience is getting to know them at the same time. And I think that's actually the bread and butter of the podcast. What was the thought that actually triggered you to start a podcast back when bodybuilding podcasts weren't a thing? Was it easy getting guests on with your background in the world of bodybuilding, or were you still brushed off by certain individuals? Okay, so I'll work backwards. I got brushed off by a lot of higher up people because they were like, oh, you're just doing a podcast out of your fucking basement. Who gives a shit? Because it wasn't a thing yet. Now everybody in the industry is doing bodybuilding podcasts. So when you do a virtual podcast from your basement or from your office, like I am or whatever, people don't care. It's no disrespect. They're like, oh, it's just a virtual podcast, just like every other one. But when I started, it was seen as like lowbrow. Like, oh, I'm not, even though I had like 50,000 people watching, people were still like, oh, that's lowbrow. I'm not doing that. I'm part of Flex Magazine, or I'm part of Muscular Development, or I'm part of Muscle and Fitness Hers, or I'm part of, so I don't do that lowbrow shit, until they realized I was getting 40,000, 50,000, 70,000, 80,000, 100,000 views per guest. The solo ones were getting like 50,000 views almost on average. Nobody else was getting that. Like Muscular Development, for example, was doing like 5,000 views at best. Maybe they had a couple in the double digits, but I doubt it. And I was crushing it. But because it wasn't like a big name title podcast, the bigger names didn't want to come on until they saw it was like a normal thing. Like once some other people started making podcasts, and once like I got really big numbers, then they were like, cool, I'll come on. So that was kind of tough. It was kind of shitty too. I was like, oh, you motherfuckers. But I guess I understand. Like if you're a big name person, you want to protect your name and protect your image. So, you got to pick and choose like what shows you go on and stuff, What triggered the thought was I used to like watching Joe Rogan, and I thought there is no Joe Rogan in the bodybuilding sphere. There's people doing interviews. There's people doing podcasts together. There's nobody doing 1 hour, 2 hour in-depth conversations with athletes about non-bodybuilding topics. So I felt I was kind of carving out a different slice. There was some people doing podcasts already. I'm not going to say I was the first, but none of them were like mine. So I carved out a specific niche in that space. And then people copied my formula for whatever that is. But what triggered it was I liked watching Joe Rogan. And then I had a friend, Jordan Shallow, who I'm still friends with. Jordan Shallow came down to train with me. He's a I don't know exactly what his title is. It's like, he's not a chiropractor. I know that would be I don't know if that's insulting or not. He's extremely influential in sports science. I think I can say that. Anyway, Jordan came down and I was talking to him about my idea, which is to do the podcast. And he said, just do it. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't have all these fancy gadgets and lighting and microphones and shit. And if you look back to the very first podcast, it's actually funny. He said to me, just start it and it'll evolve as you get better. I said, okay. So I started it, and I started with this like cheap webcam and like this shitty USB microphone. And I had nothing in the background. It was like, I don't know, I think I had a picture of Muhammad Ali in the background or something. And that was it. I was like, okay, we're rolling. And it worked. It worked. My first podcast was solo. The first 3 or 4 or 5, I think, were solo. The first one got like 30 or 40,000 views. And I was like, oh, people actually want to watch this. So then I did a few more, and then the views started to dip a little bit. So I'm like, okay, maybe me by myself is not going to work for long term. So I started to do one-on-ones first. So I think my first guest was Ron Partolo, because I knew Ron. We were kind of like friends. So I was like, come on, we'll talk. And it was pretty easy. So I was like, okay, I'll keep rolling. And so I had a few more people on. And then I think episode 9 or 13 or some shit was Luke. And I had so much fun talking to Luke. I said, hey, let's do this every week. So that's when I added Bodybuilding and Bollocks. That went till episode 40 of Bodybuilding and Bollocks, all while I was doing the single episodes. And then when Luke passed, I started doing the groups, and it just kind of ran from there. And that's the rest is history. Anyway, that's how it all went down. If you could have only one seasoning on all your meals, what would you pick? And you can't pick salt. Fuck, I was going to say salt. Pepper. Can I say seasoned salt? Seasoned salt. No, okay. If I can't say salt, fuck, that's tough. I'm not a garlic person. I was a garlic person for like the first 15 years of my career, and then something happened and I can't do fucking garlic, so it's not garlic. I don't know. I probably would go just fucking bland. If it's like I can't have salt, I'd probably just pick pepper, I guess. Tell us about the surgery. I already did. Thanks for asking. Got to do your own prayer at the end of this one, since there's no Paul. Maybe you know what? Maybe I'll give it a shot since no one's here to judge me. I'll do my own prayer. How did the surgery go? Thank you for asking. Does having more muscle mass lead to a lower EGFR, even if you aren't running gear? Yes. Having more muscle mass will throw your kidney numbers, even if you're like hydrated and you're off gear and you've taken like a few days off of rest. So your, body's at rest, and you go in, and you do your blood work. Your creatinine numbers, your EGFR numbers, your cystatin C numbers are all going to be a little bit off because of, depending on how much muscle mass you have. Obviously, the more muscle mass you have, the more off those numbers are going to be. So I'm not a doctor. I still think if you have a low EGFR, the most important thing you can do is watch the trend, right? Like, one blood work doesn't matter. Okay. This is after years of doing it, right? So every quarter, you're going to go get blood work done, or at least twice a year, you're going to get blood work done. And then after 2 or 3 years, whatever, you're going to see if the trend is this way, or if it's down, or if it's up, or whatever. And then you're going to know kind of like what you're looking at. But the best way to do it is just trend it, man. Just see, like, because let's say, I'll give you an example. If a normal creatinine number is 110, and I think it's different, used in different units depending on whether you're American or Canadian, but I'm going to use, I think the American is the way I'm saying it. Or no, maybe it's not. I think the American it's just move over a decimal anyway. It's like 110 is 1.1. So wherever you're reading it. If normal is 110 and you have a more muscle mass, you might read 120, 130, right? That's kind of normal. But if it's always trending at 120, then 125, then 130, then 135, then 140, you want to talk to a doctor about it, okay? Because they can do kidney ultrasounds. In extreme cases, they can do kidney biopsies. They can check further into it. And plus, you with Merrick Health, and this is a shameless plug on purpose because of how good they are. If you work with Merrick Health, they will check other kidney numbers that are more important than the EGFR or creatinine numbers, like cystatin C and things like that. So go to Merrick Health, use my code. I think with my code it's like $100 for the basic panel. It's going to be more obviously if you want extended coverage of like your kidney levels and stuff, but like go to merrickhealth.com, use code RBP and check your blood work. But yes, muscle mass will throw off a lot of your numbers, not just kidney numbers. I've always wondered how things like pre-workout, you have 20 plus ingredients. The label lists the quantity in a scoop, but how is it always that the quantity of the ingredients per scoop? Can't someone settle to the bottom? Can't some settle to the bottom versus others? No, that's a manufacturing question, not a supplement owner question. But even in manufacturing cases, this is what the blending process is for. They blend everything to the point where you have the normal amount of ingredients in each serving. We do a lot of testing after each batch is done to make sure that each serving has plus or minus like 1 or 2 grams or whatever it is in each ingredient. So that's how we make sure things are the way they need to be. So that's at the manufacturing level, and it's just a blending process that they use. I don't want to be insensitive as someone who's thinking about riding myself, but looking back, was riding a motorcycle worth what the accident took from you? Yes. I know everybody watching is going to think I'm fucking insane for saying that, but yes. And look, riding is different for everybody. For some people, riding is just fun. And I know this is going to sound so cliche. Riding is my therapy. Riding gets me away from bodybuilding. It gets me away from work, gives me a little bit of freedom to just go and be at peace with myself. It's kind of like my own version of meditating. And it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. I just love it. And yes, I would do it all over again if I had to. And yes, I will ride with one arm. And yes, if my other arm comes back to normal, I will ride again with 2 arms. It's just going to be part of my life always. I'm already converting both my Harleys to automatic so I can ride them with one arm. I'm also converting my H2 SX to a 2-lever system where I can use one hand to clutch and brake so that I can ride that with one arm. So I will start riding again very soon. If not, because it's wintertime, I'll probably start in the spring. But yes, if you're thinking about riding, take all the riding courses, do all the safety, take all the soft safety precautions you need to take. Make sure you wear gear, because holy fuck, if I wasn't wearing a full face, I would be dead. If I wasn't wearing any type of abrasion resistant gear, I would probably have half my skin right now. So make sure you wear gear. But yes, it is worth it to ride a fucking motorcycle because it's awesome. Are bodybuilding supplements 100% safe to use? If you had a young kid, would you let them use supplements regularly? Yes. I mean, obviously there's an age limit. I wouldn't like Ben has Phoenix. He gives Phoenix ISO H1. So like that's just our pure protein. There's nothing in it. It's all tested. All that stuff. This is the thing. All of our supplements are tested, and they go through random testing on each lot that is produced. So you can see if anything unsafe is in the product before it goes out on the shelf. And that's why someone like Ben, who's insanely anal, is still okay with giving Phoenix ISO H1. So yes, I think I would have no problem. I wouldn't give Phoenix pre-workout, but that's the same reason I wouldn't give Phoenix like a cup of coffee from Starbucks. Like I just wouldn't give a child that's 5 years old caffeine because they go insane. No, I don't think there's anything inherently in supplements that would hurt like a 16-year-old over, I don't know if any studies have come out about nootropics that hurt children or, the only thing I could think of that we use in our products is like stimulants. You probably wouldn't want a child using stimulants until they're ready. But that's a personal choice. There's nothing unsafe in the product. The products, the ingredients that are in the products, it's a personal choice. If you want to let your child use nootropics or stimulants, or protein powder or creatine or any of the things that are in our products, but there's nothing inherently unsafe in there. We'll do a few more. We've been going for a while now, I think. What is your favorite source of carbs on a bulk, and what is it on a cut? Okay, on a bulk, rice pasta, 100%, super dense, so easy to eat. I could crush like 1,000 grams of carbs in one sitting. I'm pretty sure of rice pasta. It's like, yeah, I mean, it might leave me really full after, but anyway, the point is rice pasta is like easy to digest and insanely calorie dense. On a cut, oatmeal, because it's a high fiber carb and you can eat very little of it, a very small amount of it and feel full, which is awesome on a cut. So probably oatmeal. Name an underappreciated bodybuilder from each decade, starting with the 70s. I don't even fucking know that. From the 70s, underappreciated? Fucking your guess is as good as mine. I know like 2 bodybuilders from that era. 3. I think I know like 4. Yeah, I only know the ones that are rated. I don't know any of the underrated ones because I didn't follow bodybuilding then. The 80s, same. Couldn't tell you. He's underrated. I think people like Jean-Pierre Fuchs, people like Charles Claremont, people like, I don't know, there's some pretty insane. I think someone like Paul Dillette, even though like he was appreciated at the time, I think is unappreciated now. Like that was a giant fucking person. There's some crazy physiques, people like Roland Zerlock. From the 2000s, I would probably say I don't think Dexter is as appreciated as he should be. I think that is a physique we won't see for a very, very long time. Like the closest thing we see to it now is Tonio, but Tonio is a lot smaller than Dexter was. Maybe not a lot smaller, but smaller. And it wasn't even about the structural size. It was Dexter just had every element of bodybuilding mastered. Like he had enough size to be able to beat the big guys. He had better condition than all the big guys. And he had insane shape to stand with any of the statuesque bodybuilders. Like, how do you have all of that in one fucking physique? I think we don't talk about Dexter enough. We always talk about Phil and Ronnie and Jay, and we kind of leave Dexter out of that conversation. And that's my answer for the 2000s and the teens. And in the 20s, underappreciated in the 20s. Underappreciated in the 20s. Maybe Hunter. I was going to say Hunter. I don't know. Underappreciated in the 20s. I think in the teens, I want to change my answer to Rami. I already said that earlier. I don't know in the 20s. I'll leave that one out. Okay, let's move on. I think it's fair to say you have made it. How do you imagine it before? Is it different than you expected? Do you expect anything that actually happened? I don't think I've made it. That's the craziest fucking part. Listen, man, everybody from the outside looking in can see something that maybe the person that's in the thing can't see. I'm going to give you guys an example that's a little bit controversial. I found out a bunch of stuff about this Kyle and Nick coaching thing from the last podcast I did because I saw so many comments. So I did a little bit of digging, and the prevailing comment seems to be that Nick was saying that he wasn't at his best for Pittsburgh and New York, and he missed the mark at the Olympia. And people are very upset because they don't agree with him, And Kyle is saying, well, that's the best you were going to look, Nick. And this is perfect to this question. Nick is the only one who knows what his best is. I know that sounds weird to you guys. The bodybuilder in the skin, backstage, pumping up before he fucking walks out, is the only person on earth that knows for sure if they hit it. Okay? I'm not talking about the day before. There sometimes that's why you have a coach. The coach sometimes the day before knows more than the athlete. I'm not talking about the week before. I'm not talking about 2 weeks before. I'm talking about the 30 seconds where you're standing at the fucking on the steps at the curtain before you're about to walk out after you've pumped up. There's only one person on fucking earth that knows if they're ready. And that's the fucking guy walking out. So if Nick says to you, I wasn't at my best, wasn't at his best. That's it. That's how I feel about it being an athlete. I've been on the coaching side and I've been on the athlete side. The athlete is the only fucking one who knows. And you can feel it in your skin. And I've talked about this on Bro Chat before. When you're ready, you can feel that shit. It's almost like you have goosebumps while you're pumping up because your body is telling you, I'm ready to fucking go. And Nick's best was at the Arnold when he beat Ian and at his first New York Pro. And those were both with Matt. And I know Nick knows that. And I know Nick is expecting to see that version of himself come back. Now, whether that version can come back or not is anyone's guess. A lot of people could say, oh, that version's gone forever. Some people might say it's not. Nick is the only one who knows, and I'm not saying knows publicly, knows deep down in his heart, he's the only one who knows if he can get back to that version of who he was. And if he's saying he wasn't ready, then he obviously thinks he could have been sharper, he could have been more full, maybe a combination of the two. So people are mad at him for not agreeing with Kyle, but it's his prerogative to say, I was ready or not. Now, I'll bring this back to me. You're saying it's fair to say I've made it. I don't think I've made it. There's so much more I want to do. I would love to be able to sit here and say I've made it. Now, what I can say is I think I've come a long way, and I'm very happy with what has kind of happened with my career. No, I didn't expect any of it. I expected the bodybuilding portion of it. I didn't expect it to end the way it did. But I kind of felt like when I started my bodybuilding career, I knew I wasn't going to be an Olympia winner, or even maybe even at the top of the Olympians. Like, you already know there are people that you meet along the way that just like look at a dumbbell and they fucking grow. Those guys, you can see they're fucking made for this shit. I kind of knew bodybuilding wise where I was going to stand. The podcast completely fucking blew me away. The company completely blew me away. Didn't expect any of this shit. Looking from this side of it back, it's not what I expected at all. It's fucking amazing. I'm the luckiest person on earth. I think luck is, if you work hard enough, luck presents itself. But I don't know. I think looking back at what has happened to this point, I'm extremely happy, and I don't think I could ask for more. But we'll see what the next half brings, right? All right. If Andrew brings the same package with better posing, is he Mr. O next year? Maybe. There's an argument for it. I still think he's got too many gaps. I know there are people that absolutely love his physique. I personally think you could make an argument for it. I think if he won, people wouldn't be upset. But me personally, I'm still like a little bit of a bodybuilding purist. I would want to see him fill in that physique a little bit more. Like when I stand Samson next to Andrew, I see two beautiful physiques. One is more beautiful in a sense of like how, like socially, it's more beautiful. Like Andrew's got really long limbs and like fucking just a really beautiful, like deep cut abs and like a really beautiful shape. Whereas Samson has all of those areas like underneath his armpits and between his legs, and like everything is kind of like maxed out where the muscles are all the gaps are filled in, right? I think in a bodybuilding sense, that's where I'd like to see Andrew. Like I want to see him fill in those gaps a little bit more. He's got really long arms, really skinny forearms. It kind of creates more gapish issues. He doesn't have an insanely wide full back, so that doesn't fill the frame from the front as much as you'd want it to. He's got a great lat spread, don't get me wrong. But I think the long, lean arms kind of like create a gap there. And in the legs from the back could be fuller. There are just some areas I'd like to see fill in, but I think at this point in time, Derek is still Mr. Olympia over Andrew. I think it's not long before Andrew could turn the tables, though, especially with better posing. If you had to pick one of those one of the main guys from the pod to survive 7 days in the jungle, Seth, you versus Muscle Discord in the ring in your prime, who wins? I would fucking smash that kid. I'm going to move on. How has the accident and the recovery affected your marriage? Did it bring you guys closer? It definitely brought us closer together. My wife has been, unflappable. I can't use, I don't know if I've ever used that word anywhere else. Fuck, that's incredible. It's a word though, right? Yeah, my wife has been insane through this whole situation. Yeah, it did bring us closer together. Do you think there's any significant difference in starting with isolations and getting blood into the muscle as opposed to starting with compounds and no fatigue? I get more of a pump and contraction with isolations first, but of course that hinders my compound strength. Well, this is the thing. We know mechanical tension is the largest driver of hypertrophy. So what you would want is you want to be able to lift the most weight possible while you're warm and safe. So I think if you do too many isolations and put like the compounds at the end, you're kind of doing the bread and butter when you've taken away some of your strength. And now you're not lifting. So like for example, if you did a whole shitload of leg extensions, not just a few warm-ups, but like, let's say you did a whole workout of leg extensions, like 10 sets, and then you squatted at the end and you could only squat 2 plates. In my opinion, it's better to do like 3 sets of leg extensions and squat 3 plates. That way you're getting like an extra 90 pounds on the bar. And that's going to go to your mechanical tension to help you grow. So I don't think it's wrong to do some pre-exhaust stuff with isolation movements. Like, if you want to do some like pec deck as a warm-up for your chest and get a pump in your chest, some blood in your chest before moving to dumbbell press or barbell press, I think that kind of makes sense. But if you're doing too many isolations and saving the compound movements for the end, I think it's taking away too much. First, I hope your surgery went well and you get your left arm back and to full function. Do you think your off seasons when you were competing was the best? Oh, wait, sorry. Do you think your off seasons when you were competing was the best way and why? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. And I'm just coming up and struggling with all the methods there are around nowadays. What was your method in a quick example? Love you, man. Okay. First, thank you for asking about my surgery and my arm. I hope I get it back too. About the off-season thing. Look, man, don't make it complicated. There are 1,000 fucking ways to do this thing, and all of them are right. Okay. The one you stick to is going to be the one that works, but there are some hard and fast rules. You want to be in a calorie surplus. Okay. Whether it's 500 calories or 1,000 calories, whatever your body can handle, you want it to be enough of a surplus so that your performance is at its peak. Okay. If 500 calories people do this thing by body fat. That's not the way to pick an off-season number. If you are doing a 500 calorie surplus, but your performance is better at 1,000 calorie surplus, then eat the 1,000 calorie surplus. Obviously, if you start to get too fat, you're going to have to put in some mini cuts throughout the off season so that you're not just packing on tons of fat, but you want your performance to be at its absolute best. So if eating 1,000 calorie surplus is going to make you better, do that. If it's eating a 500 calorie surplus and keeping it a little bit leaner is making you perform better, then do that. Okay. So that's your choices when it comes to calorie amounts. When it comes down to what to eat, I promise you, you're going to build a better physique with a balanced diet, protein heavy and carb heavy over fat heavy. So what I mean by that is, like, if you were going to split up your macros, I would split them in like a 40-40-20, 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat, or 50-30-20 if you want to stay a little bit leaner, for example. But if you're trying to bulk, I'm just telling you, 40-40-20, even you could even go nowadays, some of the thought processes that do work, and you could try this out for yourself. If you feel like it's making you fat, though, consider what you're doing. You could go 30% protein, 50% fat, or sorry, 30% protein, 50% carbs, 20% fat. To me, that was too many carbs and I would just get fat off it. 40-40-20 seems to be the perfect sweet spot. Get your calories set up, get your 40-40-20 set up, and just eat. And don't fucking worry about what anybody says. Just eat and train and grow. The people who get too bogged down in the weeds never reach their goals. And or if they do, they just don't ever look like they're having fun doing it. Just eat and grow and don't stress about every little calorie. Set up your macros. If you start getting a little too fat, pull back on the carbs a little bit, pull back on the surplus, add in a little bit more cardio. Once you come back down in fat, add the calories back in. If your performance is better at that weight, like, this is how it works, man. It's not hard. Just plug it in. Why are calves overlooked in this era? I don't know. They always are. They have been on my whole career, all through the 2000s and to now. It just seems like it's a body part that doesn't get the same love as everything else. If you had to be in any... back to this other question. Calves do get love indirectly. When someone says, like, someone like Martin is really, really balanced, that's because he's got a good set of fucking calves. When you look at his legs, if he had tiny little calves, they wouldn't use the word balance as easily as they do. Calves do matter. They just don't matter directly. It's an indirect thing. If you had to be in any branch of the military and have any job, which would it be? I'd be a fucking jet pilot. That'd be awesome. I want to fly jets. Has this near-death experience caused you to think about the reality of life or after death? No, it hasn't. Caused me to think about the reality of life while I'm here. Advice for someone in their 20s. Don't be an asshole. You gave me a broad question. I had to give you a broad answer. But it's the truth. Don't be an asshole. Be nice to people. I promise you, your life will be better. Wow, there's so many questions. I don't think I can get to all of them. All right. I'm going to have to stop it there. I think I've been going for like an hour now. I love you guys. Thank you for the questions. I hope you guys like the fucking Q&A. I don't know why I swear so much. And we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.